Welcome to WWD 2021 collaborative project, GeoTree. Today, we're very happy to have all of our design team members to be here and talk about the GeoTrees we have made. Let's meet the team. Hello, guys.
Hello,
You're online. Hi. So thank you for being here. Let me introduce all of you for a second. First, we have Anis Maani from Jordan, who lives in Spain now. Hello. And also we have Killian O'Sullivan from Ireland.
Hello.
And next is our lovely Shamila Cortanilica from Argentina. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. And the last one is John Vanderkolk from Australia. We're very happy.
Hi.
Hi. We're very happy to have all of you here to be with us today. For the past few months, the five of us have been having so many meetings and discussions, and then finally come up with the design of the GeoTree. But then for the past few weeks, each of us have made our own GeoTree and with our own unique characteristics. So today we're going to show all of them and we're going to have discussions about them. So first of all, let's take a look at John's GeoTree, okay?
Hello, my name's John Vanderkolk. I'm from Australia and this is my GeoTree. The things I liked about this project, I guess number one, it was very easily constructed. It's a simple design, very elegant. It can be made in many different ways with many different materials and just about any scale. And I think what I liked was the simplicity of design sort of connects every participant around the world that is involved in this project, and I really like that concept. Once the GeoTree is made, it allows for endless possibilities on how the maker interprets it and what the maker can add to it. My addition was quite simple because it was a very straight geometric shape. I decided to contrast that by suspending a seed pod with a sprout, curved sprout, very organic form as a contrast to the piece. And it represents to me the simple life cycle of the tree.
Could you share with us a little bit, how did you like it when you were making it?
Oh, it was, again, just repeating what I said in the introduction. It was, I love the idea of that elegance of the design. It's just such a simple form. And to me, my first, because of the theme being carbon dioxide sequestration, I just like that contrast of the seed pod, the growing, the tree's life cycle, I guess. So it was a very literal interpretation. I thought it was quite literal interpretation, and it's such a nice canvas. That empty space, being a sculptor, that empty space just needs to be filled, and it was such a lovely canvas to fill. Also, I think the being very early in the piece, the idea was to show other participants what we can do, and so I suppose every early piece might trigger some ideas of other participants, knowing, okay, we don't need to stay within that space. We can float something in there, or we can put it outside, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what other people involved in the project do.
It's a beautiful and poetic work, Sean. I think is
Oh, Shamila, thank you.
This beautiful thing inside of the GeoTree is like a jewelry piece. I mean, it's really beautiful.
Oh,
it's
thank
really
you.
poetic and beautiful.
John, so you mentioned something like you want to make something simple with the structure and kind of show the others, but also show the student, because I know that you have some students that will join you, and you have actually made a few of them to work on it. You have shown us the pictures. What was their response when they first see the GeoTree?
again, it's out of context. I mean, if you just particularly just show, I just showed the group the GeoTree, and then out of context, it sort of it sparked interest because it was something they hadn't seen before. It was the unfamiliar, but when it was explained, it made sense, and all of them. I mean, these are students of mine, so I talked them through the process. I talked them through the all the possibilities, and then try to get them to really play around with the concept. And the first, I'm not sure if you're going to show it, but the first student that took it on board was he's a retired professor of mathematics. So he really loved the whole carbon dioxide sequestration and did a little molecular model inside the space, and then the escaping oxygen, so that he showed the carbon molecule being captured by the inside the GeoTree, and then the oxygen molecule, I don't know if I've got this right, but oxygen molecule trying to escape. So that was a really lovely literal interpretation based on his initial concept. And I try to get these guys, they're mostly retired and elderly gentlemen, very, very competent makers. But most of them were sort of furniture makers. So I tried to encourage them to step out of their comfort zone and think a little bit outside their normal brief. And it's really interesting watching them where they get that freedom to just play around with a simple theme. And also the GeoTree, the frame is such a nice way to connect all of these guys that are making it, all of these folks that are making it. It's a really nice connection. You know, everyone's going to have virtually the same thing, and then really play with it.
Great. Yeah, I think we saw the video and the pictures on our Instagram. Right. Yeah, it's really great, and it fits to our theme this year, the WWD theme this year so well, and such a lovely piece. Yeah. Okay, great. So next, we are gonna take a look at my GeoTree. So, as you can see, I have a plant inside of it. It's called a cypress vine, and so other than the basic structure, I also add some weaving. It's called macrame, I think, the style of weaving. Macrame. Okay. Yeah. So my idea is that when I was first thinking about making a GeoTree, I want to make it functional. So I want to be able to utilize in daily lives. And the first idea that came to my mind is that I'm gonna make it as a friend for plants to grow along with it. And so when I Googled it, I saw this plant called cypress vine. Ideally, it can climb along the structure, and then hopefully it will bloom with red and white flowers. And I have to say, making the friends are not as simple as I thought it would be.
You are not a woodworker. You didn't make many wood constructions, and this is one of your first things to do.
It is not very easy. I have to use the saw to hand saw it, and I have to use the sandpaper. Yeah, I have to use the sandpaper to get to the length I want. But I think eventually it turned out pretty well. Yeah. This is part that I'm proud of, because I try to challenge myself, and I use the angle with the 30 degree on each side to combine them together.
Good job.
But I mean, really, after making this, I have more respect for your jobs.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can see. I try to make it as a one piece structure, so I can just use a hook to hand it outdoor or indoor when I want it.
Very nice. So tell me about something special you learned or you experienced during this making of it.
It really is a lot of fun, like making these kind of things with your hand and your brain, and especially working with wood, you know, something organic and and also the road that I use for the macrame, because it's like a cotton and it's a biomaterial as well. So, you know, having this in my mind when I was making it makes me feel quite special. Like even that makes me know that even if this thing falls apart in the future, it will still, I wouldn't create extra trash basically to the planet. Yeah. So that's one thing
Nice.
I feel interesting. Yeah, because it makes me have more self-awareness of not to use non-bio material, or as less as possible. Yeah.
And how did you find the collaborating? Like this is a partly your intervention and partly it's from the collaboration team
Yes.
instructions manual. How did you find that working on the collaboration?
I think it's really interesting because basically everybody's using the same design, but then you have all this different interpretation of the material, and also like the visual, what is it called, like the visual effects. Everybody have different opinions about it. I think mine, of course, I don't, structure wise, I don't have any alterations, but I think it's really interesting to see other people has using the same design but create different patterns or different little bit twist here and there. Yeah, and also it's a lot of fun to feel that, oh, people who has done the same thing, gone through the same like a brain exercise as I have done during the process.
Very good. I know that earlier on you made another GeoTree. What's the difference between the first one and the second one? I don't see much difference.
Thank you for saying that. Okay. I think the most important thing is the first one. I really want to use some materials I already have. And it didn't occur to me I have to calculate so much with the length, with the width, and everything. So I'm honestly making the making of the first one really helped me with the making of the second one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah.
How come? How did
Because
it help you?
so basically when I was reading the design instructions, you know, I thought, oh, very easy, the same length. You just have to cut like, I don't know, 21 of them or something into the same length of pieces. But then, okay, then when I'm making that one, of course, I didn't calculate the width of the material. And then when I'm making this one, I almost made the same mistake. But then I realized, oh, even though this is thick, it still has this width. And I have to calculate as well. It's not a piece of paper. It does have some length. Yeah. So it's kind of like a math test for me. So eventually I was able to do a little bit of math and thinking, oh, I need some ones that's shorter and some ones that's a bit longer, so I can actually assemble it into an actual cube. Yeah, and the prism as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. They are made really, really nicely, I think, from what I see.
Thank you very much. I think it came out almost exactly the same as I have pictured, including the macrame part and the final presentation. I really look forward to see the vine just grows along with the structure, and then and then it will come up with the green, the color of green and the red and white, and I think it will look pretty nicely. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I can't wait to see it. It would be lovely.
Yeah.
I think that you have two different things in these GeoTrees. The first one is like a play.
Yeah.
It's just like that. I think that's wonderful because you made something unique with that. And the second one, I believe you think more about that, more technically, with more careful about details and all the stuff. But I really love the two of both.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
They're really, really nice.
Thank you.
the kind of the difference between your first two. Like, I loved your first one because you could see your brain working. I know how determined you are and how you like to do things correctly, and you could see how you tried to overcome what you, from the point you started with the PC you start with, to get it as close as you could. But it illustrates something that I didn't really consider, and maybe it's because I'm a furniture maker, so working out how to make something is how I process through that. The GeoTree, just to make the GeoTree form itself, even before you make an intervention, can be a challenge. That there's a construction design challenge in that, and that planning out of approach. I hadn't really fully considered it, maybe because it's normal for me, but that there actually is a kind of a second layer to it that was very much illustrated by what you've gone through from your first through to your second one.
Thank you. Great. So now we have seen the ones that made by amateurs. I hope that's a good examples to show all the audience that who is not a woodworker, if you want to join us, if I can do it, you can do it. So the next one we're gonna take a look at Shamila's GeoTree.
I see your GeoTree there behind you. I mean, it's amazing. It's really beautiful. Do you want to share a bit about it, what your inspiration was or where it came from, or whatever you want to tell us?
Yes, I started working with some woods that a friend gave me. These woods were from a house, a burning house here near to my neighborhood, and he gave me those woods. So I was thinking about friendship and traveling. I have a lot of friends who I meet them traveling around the world, and I really miss. So when I think in the GeoTree and this sharing experience, I was thinking in traveling. And then I start with the idea of birds and birds in the trees, and why not a ship? And I was making a lot of drawings about that, and I think in the movement, that's something that was in the air floating or in the water. So that's the result of all that.
Beautiful. That's lovely. That's really nice. And tell me, so when you're developing these ideas, you have your themes. Do you sketch it all out? Is it all designed beforehand and you come to the GeoTree and you just make it from wood? Or do you go to the GeoTree and kind of pick up the wood, play with the wood, maybe make some shapes? And how does that process happen?
It was a challenge for me because I made a lot of sketch and little maquettes of the things. And this time it was like something weird because I was drawing and it was like, no, I don't like this.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start working, it's just like an idea, and then I make a lot of maquettes. But here, we already have a form. So I start playing with that. I mean, what I want to do, what is my idea, how this idea is going to talk with the GeoTree.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking in something inside, like hanging out, like the little heart in the stop motion, and then it doesn't work. So I start again, and how I can make these shapes was in the air and have a little contact with the GeoTree, but it seems like the same piece, like integrate the two things. It was a challenge for me, and I really enjoyed made it.
I mean, the results are amazing, and it's interesting. You kind of answered my next question, which was that thing that we all have our own process and develop our work in whatever way, but actually being given a very particular thing, a very particular shape. It's very geometric. It's very strict shape, And a lot of your work is so abstract and free, to kind of marry those two things. I was wondering, was it difficult, and was it, a challenge to not start from nothing, but to start from something?
Yeah, it was like a game. Like with when I make a big piece or some pieces that I already have nuggets. I mean, all the process of design, it was like in small pieces.
Hmm.
And when I go to work with the big ones, I already know how it has to be and what things I have to do to make it work. And here was like, okay, I have these recycled woods
Hmm.
that I don't know how are the conditions of these woods.
Okay.
I mean, I know these things when I start working. So I really don't know until this point if these woods are going to be
Hmm.
good for make the GeoTree.
Sure.
And the other woods, these ones,
Yeah.
this is lenga, is wood from the south, from Argentina and Chile.
Okay.
All the big landscapes there have this kind of tree, and it's very beautiful. And there is a problem because this tree is always is the problem with the fire forest in the south because it's a tree characteristic of this place. And in the last years, we have very little spaces with these trees in the nature. So
Okay. So
this,
they're
this wood is from recycled works too.
beautiful.
So I didn't know how it's going to work
Sure.
together.
Yeah.
And it was like this situation. Okay, I'm going to play with these woods that I don't know how it's going to work, and with the color too, and this idea that
Mm.
it's like a child's
Mm.
playing. I mean, it was just like that. We
Um,
had to try. Okay, this is the
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Going to work. Okay, I'm going to get the wood and I put. So it started just like that.
I think it's interesting. I know, talking to the others that I have talked to, that it has been somewhat challenging, or I think for me as well, that when I came to it, I thought it would be easier. I thought it would be easier to build a GeoTree for the first place. I think there's an inherent design making challenge in just how to construct this, and then how to apply an intervention on it. And as I said in my interview, that because I make functional furniture, I don't make non-functional abstract sculpture. I had a different challenge. But I think looking at yours, looking at Anissa's, John's, Momo's, we've all brought our own character to it. And it's very, I think there's no doubt if I saw that GeoTree, I'd know it was yours. It has your work in it. It has your sense of balance and form and space, and like your proportions and everything. Like, it's so you, and it's so beautiful, like your other work. So, and it's the same. Anissa's is his is definitely his, and John is definitely his. And so the thing I love about the project is that this uniform shape and very rigid shape, and yet the expression any artistic person, anyone who wants to create one brings to it is fully theirs, and it's kind of at the heart of the project.
Yeah, I think we talked in the first meetings about the idea of making the GeoTree, and this idea of making one space to put something of us,
Mm-hmm.
to put something that it was important for us.
Mm.
I think that when we thinking of this situation, we don't think about the important think about the identity of the people who is going to make this
Mm.
GeoTree. and with the different things we receive and the pictures the people sent to us about his idea of the GeoTree is this important point of the identity of each one.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's amazing.
Yeah.
Part.
Yeah, no, every time I see a new one and they're different and person's characters in it and the enthusiasm and the fact that we designed this remotely, we were all across the world and we designed this form and we sent it out and people pick it up and they, wherever they are, and they come back and I just get such a lift out of it.
Yes, and the commitment and this beautiful thing of choose the wood where they are working with, or if it's not a three-dimensional piece, the history
Yes,
behind
absolutely.
that. I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think that is like how much love we put in what we do, and
absolutely.
that's great.
Okay.
I love the part that when you and Killian are talking about, different trees shows the different characters. But then when you're talking about your wood, I also realized that, it's a good example of different areas of people using different kinds of wood as well. That's something, it didn't occur to me, but of course, naturally.
I think that's a great thing because I was working in a museum a long time ago. It's a art child's museum. So it was great because when the child sent all the drawings and the ceramic pieces and all the stuff, they sent it in a little box with Gmail and all the stuff. And I was thinking in the matter of these little kids choosing the paper and how are they going to send to us the little piece of art. And the same situation was with the wood. I mean, when we choose something to make another thing or a piece of art or a furniture or a sculpture, and sometimes it's just like just anybody else. I mean, maybe you have a lot of work and you choose one piece and work on it. And sometimes when we want to make it special for any reason, we have special careful to choose what we are going to use for this piece. And that's why I choose this kind of woods. One is a gift for one of my best friends, and it was great because it has a lovely color and it was great the burning parts of it because it's just changed the color of the wood and the quality of this wood. Normally it's very clear and almost pink, and I think that the burning part was perfect for this work. And the other one too, and I was thinking in that. I mean, the other day we post Kike Grenkevic, GeoTree. He's an artist from Argentina, and he make a lot of work with little pieces of wood, and he chose everything. It's like every wood put in there is chosen for anyway, any reason, and I think that's great.
You kind of talked about the GeoTree and said it's about creating a space to put something of us within it, which is a very beautiful way to look at it. But it reminded me, and this is a slightly literal translation of that, but it's just that idea that we had these meetings and we didn't know what we were going to do, and then we make something and it reminds me of something that happened in those meetings, and that there is a kind of a method to this, and it came from somewhere. And you said in one of the early meetings that and it's one of the reasons that we made a geometric form is that we've been communicating. We've all been living in the boxes like we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's
that
part
was
of the connection.
yeah. And so this idea that we're all in these boxes and now we're making something that's box shaped that we're putting something of us into. It just really struck me when we were listening back just there. And yeah, it's just that it's still inherent in it, something that was said months ago, and it's still like absolutely there in the GeoTree project.
Yeah, I think that too. Because, I mean, some sculptor, Louise Bourgeois, I think she was, who said, "We are what we do." So I think that what we do is us, and we put it on our work as a sculptor, as a furniture maker, as an artist. I mean, that's part of this identity we sharing with the GeoTree project. And I think that's the most interesting here.
Just to repeat what Killian said, I think it's number one, it's instantly recognizable as your work. And GeoTree aside, it is just an amazingly dynamic sculpture, and yeah, it's the sort of piece I'd show my students and go, okay, this, look at the way your eye follows this. Look at this thing's exploding out of the space. And it seems, it's only it's not that much of an addition to the piece, but it makes the piece look so much larger by the way your eye travels along these forms, and we were talking before about how sculpture being 3D, it has to work from every single angle. And I don't think people recognize the skill involved in being able to construct a piece like that and being able to rotate it and having everything work, all the line, all the form, the balance, all the things that sculpturally work is it's just astounding. It's just a gorgeous piece. And I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
So next, we're going to take a look at another very different GeoTree, which is from Anis. Yay! So let's take a look. Yay! I'm very excited about this one. All right,
Hey,
there you
Anis.
go.
How are you?
Hey.
Nice
Hello.
to see you. Hello. How are you?
Very good. Nice to see you, Chami.
It's nice to see you too. It's nice to see your GeoTree there. You want to talk about it?
This is my GeoTree, hashtag my GeoTree. I had many ideas and I wanted to experiment more than I would have usually done, because we're trying our GeoTrees. So I went from the prism in the bottom to a tripod design, and I did, instead of the frame, I filled it with sticks. I still need some trimming maybe, but yeah, so that's the difference. So I tried to change, to do variations on the original idea.
That's what I really want to know about, how you choose the materials and how you make the process of your idea about the reinterpretation of the GeoTree.
I chose the materials from our meetings. We had the idea to use pallets, recycle wood, reuse it. So I used a pallet of wood in the beginning only, and then I added to it some of the branches that I have here in the garden from the mulberry trees. Yeah, I went from initial sketches that we had in the group we were discussing, and yeah, tried to work around there. So I didn't have a very clear idea from the beginning on what am I going to end up with. So it was a process of experimentation, actually.
So you start a process like an experimentation with the materials and with the form you give to the GeoTree. And you can relate it with your own sculpture work, or you think it's just too different?
I think the relation, yes, I could relate it, of course, because like here it's more mass and not in your sculptures, Shami, you have lines. I have masses, so filling the cube was, I think, something that I would see in my work usually.
Yes, because I was thinking in that situation, you work with a lot of material and big volumes, and then you have this structure is only space. So I was thinking how you are going to adapt your work to the GeoTree, and I think it's great the way you do that.
Okay, excellent.
I think it's amazing.
Um, Also, the experiment could a little bit continue. I'm thinking of using some sticks for a frame for the cube to try it, but also I'm thinking to put it down in the garden where asparagus plants could go through it, or peas could climb on it.
Yeah.
So you see,
So your work is still in like a constant process of experimentation with the material and with the form.
yeah, yeah.
And how, what do you think about uh, the idea of share this structure and this geotree with all the world, and what do you expect to happen with this project?
I really like what's happening currently, and I see that it's growing, and more people are joining it and trying it. So that's really amazing. I'm excited about the different forms and different approaches that people are doing. I always trace common forms in the world, and different forms, differences, and similarities between the same forms happening in different cultures, in different materials, in different environments. So that's a thing I'm curious about and excited to see in the future.
Yes, that's I think that's great too, because our works are too different, and our geotree. I mean, the geotree of the members of the design team are very different, and I really like the idea of thinking and what the other person is going to do and how it's going to interpret our idea.
Me
And
too. It's really exciting, and especially when there are so many people.
yeah, I think so.
I love the material that you choose. Very local, very recyclable. It's a yeah, like you know, to reuse these materials and create something really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, reclaimed wood. And also that was in our meetings, we talked a lot about it and how to reduce the CO2 footprint by using reusing wood, or what materials to use. So yeah, I was trying to try that aspect.
Mm.
How did you end up from the GeoTree shape to where you got to?
I actually was trying to get this form as geometrical as possible, but you know, you keep adding and keep cutting and keep adding and keep cutting. So I didn't get there where it is very, like, you know, you see the line even. Mm-hmm. So in my brain, I was going there. That's not the thing. Okay. But in my sculptures, I have some organic and some geometrical abstract sculptures. But even the geometrical ones, when I make them, I never have like very sharp angles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're usually eroded, like being in a river for a long time next to the sea, or by wind, or like erosion in general. Mm-hmm. So this apparently that's what happened with this tree again. Yeah, I was going for the sharp thing, but again, like with a grinder went around or something.
So far, like seeing all the examples that we from each other, it just proved that our points again. You know, our GeoTree really shows who we are. Yeah.
I would have been very disappointed if Anis's piece hadn't have been completely left field. And it just shows how Anis's head works.
What I like about your job, Anis, is like one time we talking in Cambodia, about it is like almost these kind of archaeological pieces that you made. And when you told that you have all these sticks from the place, it's like make something with founded object. I mean, it's just I related with that, and I think that's great, and it has a lot connection with your work.
So let's take a look at the very last GeoTree from Killian's. Yay!
Yay!
I can see your GeoTree in the back of you. That looks
Yes.
really, really cool. Can you tell us what's your concept there?
Thank you. So I guess the concept is that I've made 2 GeoTrees, and each GeoTree is an intervention on the other. So they're basically 2 trees locked together. It's made with walnut, which I had left over in the workshop from a previous job, American black walnut, and beyond the basic machining, I made it by hand. So I was using traditional techniques, jointing it together. And so I guess for me, the big challenge is that I make furniture for a living. I make practical, functional objects that have, my style is geometric and minimal, but they have a function, and I don't consider myself an artist making non-functional objects. So to make a sculptural object, to make something that is in essence functionless beyond its aesthetic qualities, was a challenge for me. I kind of shied away from it for a while. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was really trying to. My initial thoughts were to make something very simplistic, and I was like, no, approach it. What skills have I got? What do I simply like in this? So I like repeating patterns. I like how you put something identical together and the lines play off each other, and then in the round, when you move around it, like some of my furniture, the angles change and play off each other. So that these are the things that went into my thinking. I designed it all on computer and 3D sketching beforehand, but ultimately there's a bit of kind of feeling and sense and slightly not fully in my comfort zone about it. I might share a couple of things with you now, just so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's a couple of pieces of my furniture. It's a table I made called Transformer, and you can see in the leg there's this repeated pattern. It goes in and out, and the shadow cuts across it. Another small, these are small boxes. They're about 20 centimeters on one side. And again, just very simple 45-degree angles. The corner comes off as the lid. And then a kind of extension of that where I made this cabinet for someone, which is maple and walnut, but the same kind of thing. And as you move through that piece, the lines move and opposite ends look different. So it was those things that were feeding into it. Right. The other element that I was thinking about was this, which was a construction that myself, John Vanderkok, who's on the design team this year, and Jan Stein-Olofsson from Iceland, we were in Turkey, so that was 2015, and we were just messing around. We had made there was loads of these chairs kicking around, and they were a little wobbly, so we dissected a few and made a few kind of sculptural fun items with them. And this is one that was my favorite, and it just was kind of taking that reference back to a previous project when we were all together and applying it to this year's project and what I was doing on my own. So to give you a better sense of this GeoTree, here's a video of it, just shot in the back garden, just to give you a sense of it in the round. So you can see the 2 GeoTree forms, but you can't really see either of them distinctly. And the lines are all playing off each other, and you can see the movement and the crisscrossing and the shapes that appear. So it was straightforward enough, except for the very center piece, which I think the video zooms in on now, but the triangular cross section, and then the elements of the cubes coming down, and they dissect right through the middle there. And that was the tricky bit to get that right. And I really needed the 3D modeling to get that correct, because I don't know that I could have worked that out. I certainly would have been a long time trying to work that out in the workshop on my own. So it still needs a coat of oil and a finish off, but you know, that's the piece.
Wow.
So
That is very impressive. I feel like you have the, like after seeing the furniture examples that you have made before, and also the turkey chair, I was there too.
Yeah.
It really has this interesting ideas combined together. And I think, we talk about it in our streaming. GeoTree, I think we did. Also mean like geometry tree. And I think your GeoTree basically do a extended version of it.
Yeah, I mean, it really suits me. The form that we came up with as a group. So I was glad we didn't have some organic shape, because I just don't make that. I don't do that. And had we had some organic form that we had to, I really would have struggled. So at least we were in a realm that I understood, especially as I was taking, as I said, that step away from making functional objects into a sculptural form. Yeah, I really enjoyed the process, I must say. It was on the computer, I had a lot more complex versions of this kind of interaction. You could mesh it at so many different places, and it creates really interesting patterns, and that's the kind of fun of playing with it and developing it. But I liked that this was simple, but actually still there was a challenge in it. You know, when you overcomplicate it, you completely lose the GeoTree form and you don't see it anymore. Right. So I like that it's still in there, but it's not immediately distinct.
And I almost feel like, because by combining them together, you create this center space. It reminds me of, I don't know if you remember, when I think it was probably in Turkey or actually in Nepal, when we were doing the playground projects. I think Jack keeps saying something like, it's not about the thing you make, it's also about the space inside of it. Mm-hmm. And I think your example, your GeoTree, like in the middle of it, the two trees kind of create a third GeoTree in this space in between. That is something really intriguing and very interesting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's an element where it's a really simple trick, and you just take two things and you just bring them together, and you stop at the point where where they're intersecting, and it naturally creates there's a nice uniformity, like that all the lines are parallel in the cube, all the lines are parallel in the prism base, and there's an element where I don't have to do a huge amount of designing. It's just like on screen going boop, boop, just moving around a little bit more until the position feels right. I mean, there's an element of knowing when to stop. There's an element of understanding form and understanding proportion and kind of the feel of something, and when it's right, that can be more challenging to put into words, but that's essentially what a lot of the process was, like just repeating this kind of meshing and putting together, and then kind of iterating through. Like there were stages when I designed it that one tree was like maybe out of maple and the other was out of walnut, so you had this absolute contrast and the two stood out, and actually in that it didn't have the same impact because there's the interest there and the confusion, and the whole piece is uniform rather than being two separate things. Like that was what, in meshing them, they could have looked like two GeoTrees stuck together, and especially when I had distinct timbers on both. But when you put them together as the same uniform timber and the same materials, you get this uniformity of the whole piece, and it just adds to it being a complete thing on its own, rather than, as I say, two GeoTrees mashed together.
Right. You kind of, by using the same material, you kind of, it's more identical and more duplicated patterns together.
Yep, exactly. It all looks like a whole.
Right.
And it adds to that thing that you're saying, that there's a slight the intrigue of it, and where does the start and end, and what is this? But
is it possible you can bring it closer to the camera?
Yes.
Wow. So the whole thing is like stick together.
Pretty much. Yeah. It needs a little bit more fixing. One of the I only finished it about 20 minutes before this meeting, or got it to this stage 20 minutes before the meeting. So you know, I need to fix this cube on. This piece does, let me see if I can do it, does actually slide in the joint. So it actually has a bit of movement, and I think I'll keep that like that. But the other piece, this needs to be fixed down because it's a little insecure at the moment. The joint where this leg came up to meet this angle was the most challenging part of it, and it just needs a little care to make sure it's secure.
Very, very impressive. It's so nice.
Thank you very much.
I just love that we have all different kind of alterations and all different kind of extensions of the basic design. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the real joy of this project, or one of the real joys of this project. I mean, it's been an amazing thing to do. But even within our team, of the 5 of us, all our 5 GeoTrees all look different, and we've all brought our own personality and distinct elements to it, and that's what we were hoping for from as we developed the project. That's what we hoped for, and it's coming in. You know, we've had a good response so far. It's still kind of getting going fully. We've plenty of time to go in the project still, and I think to see that difference that everyone brings to it, and see the challenges people have in, you know, just even coming up with how they're going to make it, and then how they're going to intervene on it. And every time one comes in, it's a really nice. I get a really nice feeling about the whole thing, just to see someone somewhere in the world making this form and taking the time to take part in it. And it does. That was the idea of the project, to link everybody through this form and share it and just bring people together. And it's really working, and it's really heartening to see.
And I think your project, your work is a good example of how the two of them can link together.
Thank you.
How do you fix them together like that? Do you just use glue, or do you have to use nails, or?
So
like...
there's little dowels, so very thin cylinders of wood, 2 in each joint. So because I was making the whole thing by hand, I actually made dowels. There's a video on the Instagram, and it's a very old trick where you drill a hole and you fix a very sharp chisel to it, and then get lengths of wood and drill them through the hole, and they come out perfectly round.
I really like this trick. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I would like to try it.
So it was the first time I'd ever done it, and I was like,
wow.
I can't make this GeoTree if I can't make dowels. So I had to start with the dowels, and then I made a little simple jig that lined the 2 pieces up that I was joining and drilled through, and then was able to glue them, and the dowels just fit in. It's very simple technique. I think Jamila made hers with dowels as well.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Yeah, but I use China food sticks.
Oh, okay, chopsticks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I love it because when you cut it, the bamboo is just like little points on it, and I think I love that.
Lovely detail, yeah.
So I use it all the time.
That's awesome. Chinese food
It's a strong
sticks.
material.
Yeah, and it's great because it's more stronger and flexible than the wood ones, so wood works great.
When I design furniture, I don't play with the wood and the form and what I'm doing in the same way I played with it here, and I really enjoyed the process, and I really enjoyed. I realized that I actually do know some things that I wasn't, you know, because the results are good. So I think what it might lend me to do is actually make more non-functional work, possibly. I think rather than applying it to my work, that was much more fun than anything I've done this year in many ways, you know. Wardrobes. Nonsense.
So we have seen all the GeoTrees we have made. It was a wonderful experience. I think we all learned a lot, and for me, like the making of it, to think of everybody that has made one that experienced the same thing with me, that is the really amazing experience, and I believe all of you experienced the same thing. So before we wrap up the program, of course, the making of this this program that it's a collaborative project. We want to not only collaborate with each other, but we also want to invite more people to join us. So before we finish the program, is there anything else that each of you has something to share with our audience? Let's have Anis to start.
Audience, I'd like if anybody I would suggest you try to make a GeoTree. It's amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
And John?
Just a general observation about collaboration. I mean, you've seen these 5 GeoTrees, and you see how dramatically different they are, and everyone's approach is different. And it was one of my students that asked that, you know, when you actually get together and collaborate together, don't you just butt heads? And yeah, because you've all got different approaches to things, and I think it works exactly opposite to that. Everyone recognises each person's unique approach, and they take it on board, and you're actually growing from other people's concepts and the way they approach things, the way they think about things. And this is one of the lovely things about, you know, we've worked together on a number of projects, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't sure how successful this would be without being there together and being hands-on together. And I think it works wonderfully. It's a completely different animal, but I like the inclusiveness of it, the fact that anyone can get in and get involved in this, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
And Shamila?
I would like to say that it's a project to share with us, with the world, with whatever who wants to participate on it, and to show who we are and how much we care we can do with the other ones. I mean, collaboration is that, what we do with the other, not against the other, with the other, and what we construct about that, and how can we connect with this idea of GeoTree and working together with that. I think it's a great project to be in, and I love to work with these guys and with you, so I'm very happy with it.
Thank you. And Killian?
I mean, it's really nice sitting here. What are we? 5 months from when we started, I think, something like that. Was or January when we began? Not even 5 months. And I think we were in lockdown, a lot of us, and you know, it was a tricky time, and we were completely separated, and we wanted to generate a project that linked people all around the world and kind of added. We wanted to generate some of the spirit of the projects we've had the pleasure and privilege to be on in the past, as part of World Wood Day, and get people to join in and have their own expression and their own input onto and be part of this thing. And I think I hope in the last while we've been talking here that we've kind of shown what it is and how it's worked and how we've succeeded in doing that, and that there's a lot to be gained from taking part in this project and just picking it up and doing it, and it's bigger than the individual, and it's more than just simply being on your own in your workshop. It's a much bigger thing, and you're connected around the world through this, and it's been a really real pleasure working with you all on it, and I think we did a great job.
Great. Thank you. Great. So by sharing all of our GeoTrees, we really want to invite anybody from anywhere around the world to join us and participate and make their own GeoTree. You know, you can make it, you have seen enough examples, like you can make it very simple, very complicated, or, you know, make with your own creations. So if you are interested in joining us, you can find the instructions on our website, worldwoodday.org/GeoTree. And please visit our Instagram account at WWD GeoTree. You can see more pictures from other participants. So once again, thank you all for being here today. It was a lovely discussion and lovely time to spend with you all again. And we'll see each other soon again. Great.
Yes, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Momo.
So
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Momo.
Bye.